What's up guys, Om here from iTech Everything and welcome to this new video. Apple just wrapped up their WWDC 2022 event and there's a lot of stuff that they didn't mention in the keynote itself. So in this video, we'll be talking about all those things that Apple didn't mention but are still pretty exciting. So let's get started. So let's start off by talking about messages. The Messages app got a huge update with the ability to unsend messages and edit messages. But what Apple didn't mention is that you can only do both of these things for the first 15 minutes of sending the message. Which means that if you realize that you sent it to the wrong person after 15 minutes, you can't really do anything about it. However, the 15 minutes time limit is a good thing for the most part. Mark as unread is also an option now, which is a thing that a lot of people had been requesting for, and I think would be useful to me as well. There's also now the ability to recover deleted messages for up to 30 days, similar to the Photos app. And talking about the Photos app, the hidden photos and the recently deleted folder on your iPhone is finally password protected or biometric protected. This makes the hidden and the recently deleted folder actually useful now. There's also a new utility in the Photos app which detects duplicate images and lets you clear them quicker. You can also copy and paste edits from one photo to another, which was previously not possible. Thank you so much, Apple. They also added the ability to separate subjects from the background from images just by tapping and dragging on the subject. Live text also works for video now, and they added support for Japanese, Korean, and Ukrainian text now. The shared library feature is also amazing, especially the toggle in the camera app. I always forget to send the photos I took to my family. This is going to be really helpful and going to make things so much easier. But unfortunately, a lot of people at my home have an iPhone 6s or an SE first generation. And Apple just dropped off support for the iPhone 6s, 6s Plus, and SE first generation from iOS 16. In fact, even the iPhone 7 is no longer supported. The way you can look at this is that the iPhone 6s and SE first generation got a bonus year of update with iOS 14 and 13, even 15. Remember that when we got iOS 13, we were expecting that it would drop support for the iPhone 6s, but we were surprised it didn't. And it got support up till 15, iOS 15. I mean, that's a lot of updates. I'm still confused about why the iPhone 7 has dropped off from iOS 16 support though, because the iPads with the A10 and A9 chip are still supported. The only reason I can think of is battery life, but I'm not really sure. And talking about device support, iOS 16 will be supporting iPhone 8 or newer. iPadOS 16 will be supporting all iPad Pro models, the iPad Air 3rd generation or newer, and the 5th generation and later for the base model iPad and the iPad mini. macOS Ventura will be supporting the Mac Pro 2019 or later, iMac and iMac Pro from 2017 or later, MacBook Air from 2018 or later, Mac Mini from 2018 or later, MacBook Pro from 2017 or later, and 12-inch MacBook from 2017 and later. There's a lot of cutoff with macOS Ventura. I think they're dropping off Intel support as quick as possible. I think my older iMac from 2017 is going to be next. Fortunately, I do have an Apple Silicon Mac as well. And talking about macOS, there's now a clock app and a weather app. Both of these things were much needed on macOS for a long time, and I'm glad they're here. The System Settings app on macOS got a huge update with a complete rewrite in SwiftUI. And yes, it's now called System Settings instead of System Preferences, a long overdue update. And I think they kept the system word so that people like me who type in SYS into Spotlight to quickly get access to the system preferences or system settings will still be able to continue typing the same shortcut to get to settings. Continuity camera is here, letting you use your iPhone as a camera for your Mac. And the desk view feature with continuity camera is amazing. Desk view and center stage are only available with iPhones with the ultra wide camera, which is the iPhone 11 or newer. However, continuity camera and portrait video for webcam will be available with iPhone XR or later, which is great. FaceTime handoff is here and it's going to be really helpful as I'm always switching between devices during calls, and I think the people who talk to me know that. Stage Manager is also really impressive. I'm going to use it a lot for sure since I have tens of tabs open all at once every day. That's also the reason I created Snap, a shortcut that won the Best Mac Shortcut Award at the Automation April contest conducted by MacStories.net. You'll be able to get it in the description down below. The Spotlight search user interface also got an update. It's now more refined and shows more richer data. And I'm hoping that they also improved the speed of it. Siri also got a new UI, which now resembles the iPadOS's Siri UI. Now this looks great on macOS. The background sounds feature is also here on macOS now, so you can hear the calming sounds of rain even on your Mac. And the music app for all the platforms is getting a huge update with the recommendations. I can't wait to see how that looks like, or sounds like. Coming to iOS, the lock screen looks stunning. It's so beautiful. It has tons of personalization options, and you can add widgets and complications from the Apple Watch right on your iPhone. And yes, the Apple Watch complications and the iPhone widgets on the top use the same WidgetKit API. So they're the same thing, which you can use on both devices. So developers can create it once and they'll work on iPhone and watch at the same time. There are also improvements to cinematic mode on iPhone 13, and I recently got to try cinematic mode on iPhone 13 and it looks so good. There's also foreground blur in portrait mode that's added to the iPhone 13 lineup, which will add more realism to the portrait photos. There's also quick notes on the iPhone now, although I don't think it's getting the same windowed interface over from iPadOS, which is kind of disappointing. And I have some amazing news. Face ID gets landscape support on iPhone. I have no idea why they didn't add this up till now, because iPads have had this since 2018. And something that a lot of people were requesting for, the iOS keyboard finally has haptic feedback. This is going to be amazing, and I'm going to try it later today when I install the beta. Spotlight search also appears at the bottom now, similar to Safari's new search bar from iOS 15. But talking about Safari, we now have website push notifications on iOS. While most of these things also come over to iPadOS, I don't think lock screen personalization is coming to iPadOS yet, because there is no mention on the website about it whatsoever. And while Stage Manager and external monitor support is super exciting, it is really disappointing to see that it's only supported on the iPad Air 5 and the iPad Pro 2021 with the M1 chip. I'm almost certain that the iPad Air 4 is more than capable of running Stage Manager and external monitor support. But coming to the good things, the Home app is amazing. There's an all-new Home app for all three platforms, and I can't wait to try it out later today. The Files app, along with a lot of other apps, also get tons of desktop-like improvements. Thank you so much, Apple. The Apple Notes app on iPad gets massive improvements. I have no idea why Apple didn't talk about these at the event itself, but let's talk about them now. There's a new feature called handwriting straightening, which will supposedly straighten all the handwriting in the note. I'll be interested to see how that works out later in the year when I get the iPadOS 16 update. We also have the ability to resize and rotate images added to the writing section or the drawing section of the app. And we also have the ability to add text boxes now. This really makes Apple Notes a good option for note-taking now, competing with GoodNotes and Notability, but not quite there yet. I'm hoping they add zoom-in features too. But there's more. The Podcast app also gets a new improved user interface on the iPad, and somehow Scribble now supports emojis, which is kind of cool. It also looks like Apple is prioritizing Siri shortcuts in the Spotlight. Previously in iOS 15 or iPadOS 15 and macOS 12, the shortcuts would be at the bottom of the search results in the Spotlight. Let's see if that changes. There's also the ability for developers to add virtual memory swapping on iPad, which is really cool. It's a desktop-only feature that's finally coming to iPad, and it's only available for 256GB iPad Air 4 and iPad Pro with 128GB of storage. It's kind of disappointing that my iPad Air doesn't support most of the big new features. Why can't my iPad have those? And talking about the hardware that was announced, M2 is finally here. They've announced a new redesigned MacBook Air, and the older MacBook Pro now gets a refresh with the M1 chip replaced by the M2. They've added Starlight and Midnight to the existing Space Gray and Silver on the MacBook Air, giving people the color they like. It's also super thin and looks stunning. The base model of the MacBook Air with the 8-core GPU instead of the 10-core GPU starts at $1199 and in India at 19,900 Indian rupees. And if you want the 10-core GPU model, it costs $1299 and 1,30,000 Indian rupees. I'd recommend avoiding the 13-inch MacBook Pro with the M2 chip at all costs. It costs the same as a MacBook Air anyways. Unless you really want the touch bar, it's a thing to skip over. The Apple Mail app for all of Apple platforms also got a ton of updates, such as improved search, undo send, schedule send, reminders, suggestions for follow back, and rich links powered by Apple's link presentation. Interestingly, tvOS didn't even get mentioned at the event, and it's good to be honest. They usually waste a lot of time talking about tvOS. Also, this was my first WWDC as a developer. I'm really excited to see what's new in SwiftUI and also in the App Intents API. That seems really interesting from the preview or the quick look they gave at the platform State of the Union. There are a lot of amazing updates to all of Apple's frameworks, and I'll be testing them in a bit. But for now, that's all from me. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know if I missed anything big in this video. I know there are a lot of more things that I couldn't cover in this video itself. But yeah, and since I'm back after 3 months, thank you so much for 2,000 subscribers. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.